Hello everyone, this is Saji. Today we're going to look at parallel and perpendicular lines. This is the real life parallel line, like if you see a train track. These are two parallel lines. What do you think about it? Just think, between the space between two tracks, like two lines in here, and think about the distance. Even though when you look at it, it's get closer, that's your eyes looking like that. I mean, when you see it, but look at the space between everywhere, or think about it. And we will talk about it in a parallel line. How does it look? If you look here, look at this and this one. This is called perpendicular, and we will see what is perpendicular down the road. Parallel line. If lines are in same plane and have same distance between them, which is called equidistance, then they are parallel. So basically in a plane, we already know a plane. I was telling you last time, like it's a whiteboard or like a just piece of sheet. On the top, if you have two lines like this, see, if you see, this is the plane, the blue one, light blue one, the dark blue one, blue lines are the parallel lines. And they're saying have same distance between them. So look at this, the same distance between these two lines, anywhere you pick it. If you pick here, if it's like whatever the distance in here, it's going to be the same distance in here also, anywhere you pick, or even if it goes further, all right? So parallel line basically never touch, and they have same distance in between those two lines, anywhere you pick. If you compare like two places, if you measure the distance in those two places, it's going to be exactly the same. Not only two lines, it can be three lines. This line is parallel to this one because if you pick any place, like in here, whatever the distance, it's going to be the same distance over here or here. In the meantime, if you pick these two, it's the same distance in here, anywhere you pick. Or you can pick these two lines, the blue and red, and if you measure the distance between them, it's going to be the same. When you look at it, look at this brick wall. These two lines in your real life looks parallel. Even though a little curve over here, it's most likely parallel. If you measure the distance, it has to be the same. And then this vertical line or this horizontal line is perpendicular. We will look into that later on. If you look at this window, these two are parallel, or these two are parallel. This line and the bottom piece are parallel. And if you look top and bottom, it's parallel. So basically this has four lines. 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. All right? In a football field, look at this. These two are parallel. The distance are same everywhere. Transversal. What is transversal? A transversal is a line that crosses at least two other lines. So in here, if you have two lines, it doesn't have to be parallel, any two lines. Look at these two blue lines, and is there a transversal going through those two lines? I mean, a line goes through those two lines. That line called transversal, okay? So this one seems to be a parallel line, and there's another line goes through it, so which is called transversal. So in here, we have three lines, and there's a red line going through all three of them. That also a transversal, all right? Real life example, see Creek Road, Reading Lane, and Park Road is a transversal for that, okay? Parking lot, these are parallel lines, and this is the transversal. In here also, multiple parallel lines if you look at it. So nowadays, we just gonna look everywhere math. We're not gonna look like, look this one as a studs or structure or anything. When we see these things, we're gonna look as a parallel line, and this one is a transversal. All right. So you will see next time when you look at something, you will see in there a lot of math. All right. Now, the reason we have to learn about parallel lines and perpendicular lines, we have to prove a lot of things. So then we will have a sense when we look at something and figuring out stuff, or like constructing something. Like, down the road, you might build a nice kitchen or nice living room, or you want to plan it and let somebody do it. Of course, when you do it, you need to know how those parallel lines work. If somebody doing a wrong job, you can point it out. If you don't know anything, or you don't have any sense of parallel lines or perpendicular lines, it's tough to catch it. So we're going to look into pairs of angles, which are congruent in parallel lines. So the pairs of angle, when parallel lines get crossed by another line, which is transversal, we looked at it, it will form congruent pairs of angles. Let's see what are those angles. So these are the two parallel lines, and this is the transversal cutting through those two lines. These are the angles. These yellow things, A, B, C, D, and E, F, G, H. These are angles. So there are some similarities. Some of them are like congruent. What is congruent? I think I'm pretty sure that we mentioned in a video too. Congruent means exactly the same. So for example, if angle A has another angle exactly the same, that's called congruent, okay? So here's a pairs of angle list. I highly recommend you understand what are these and memorize it, all the names. So these are the list, which is one is vertical angle, the other one is corresponding angles. I believe vertical angles, we already looked into it. We don't need parallel line for that. If two lines cross it, or cutting each other, or intersecting in one point, then it will form vertical angles, okay? But still, we'll look into it again. Corresponding angles, we're gonna look into it. Alternate interior angles, we also going to look into it. Alternate exterior angles. All these four angles are congruent. If you find a pair of vertical angles, those two are congruent. Corresponding angles, they are congruent. Alternate interior angles, they also congruent, and alternate exterior also congruent. The last one is consecutive interior angles, which is also supplementary angle. What is supplementary angle? We looked into it in previous video. Supplementary angle is if you have two angles, and when you add those two, it will adds up to 180 degrees. So consecutive angles are not congruent, but when you add those two angles or combine those two angles, it will form a straight lines or 180 degrees. All right. Vertical angles, like we studied before. Vertical angles are pairs of opposite angle made by intersecting lines. So these are the two lines intersecting over here, and X is the vertical angle over here, and exactly the same on the top, opposite side, which is also X. So these two are congruent. Again, congruent is exactly the same angle. So if you cut this angle and put in here, it's gonna exactly fit. Same thing, Y, these two Y, two angle I mean, two lines intersecting, and these two are opposite angles, and those two angles are congruent, which is exactly same. Same thing, if you cut this angle and put on the top of it, it will fit exactly in here, all right, which is called congruent. So corresponding angle. What is corresponding angle? Two angles on the same side. So two angles on the same side of the transversal. So this is the transversal, so it has to be in the same side that occupy corresponding position. So the corresponding position, if you take this line, this is the corresponding, I mean, like this is one angle. So if you take this angle in the same side, what is the corresponding position? This one or this one? It's on the top of that. If the transversal cutting, it's on the top of this line. It's also top of over here. So these two are the corresponding position, and on the same side of transversal, interior, on interior and exterior. So this is interior and exterior, okay? Then those two are congruent, okay? So in here, if you look at it, this same side, these are the corresponding position. And now, if you look at it, angle 2, that's the angle sign, we already did it. I mean, we already learned about it. This is angle 2. Sorry. This is angle 2 and angle 6, this one, are congruent. Not only those, look at 1 and 5. So this is the transversal, this is the line, this is 1. In here, the corresponding position for 1, it's the same thing. I mean, same side and this one. All right? Those two are congruent. Also, if you look at it, these two are corresponding position, but not on the same side, but we will come to that, and we will see what are those angles. So this is corresponding angles, which is 3 and 7. Look at it. 3 is interior, 7 is the exterior. Corresponding position on the same side of transversal. And 4 and 8. 4 and 8. Interior and exterior on the same side of transversal and corresponding position. So those pairs of angles are corresponding angle which are congruent also. So remember, corresponding angle, try to understand what is corresponding angle, and then how does it work, and if you can point it out pairs of it, which is good. If you know it, just memorize and understand it. You will use when you do the proofs or structure something, all right? Alternate angles. There are two different ones. We separately listed alternate interior angles and alternate exterior angles. So two angles that lie between parallel lines. So it's going to be parallel lines. So two angles lies between parallel line on opposite side. So if one angle over here, so two lines, two parallel lines, and opposite of transversal, I mean, like, opposite side of the transversal. So one is here, the other one has to be in here, but not linear pair. These two are linear pair, you know that, but these cannot be linear pair. So what is that? This one and this one. All right. So 3 and 6, which is called alternate interior angle. Two angles that lies between parallel lines on opposite side of the transversal, but not linear. So if in the two parallel line opposite side, it cannot come because it's in the same side. So, and also it cannot be linear. So these two angles are congruent. There's another way to find out. Look at this. It's look like a little Z kind of thing. Z, either backward or forward. I mean, like, mirrors image of Z, or like the regular image. If you look at it, this look like Z. So whatever the angle for those two, I mean, those Z, those are congruent. If you look at it, that's the mirror image. The other way, the Z flipped. So if you look at it, this angle and this angle are congruent. And here, 3 and 6, and 5, 4 and 5. This sign, it's called congruent sign. Instead of saying it's congruent, math people are lazy, like I told you. They just create a symbol for congruent. It's like equal sign on the top, like a little wavy thing on the top. That means congruent. So 3 and 6 and 4 and 6, 4 and 5 are congruent, which is called alternate interior. You know why? In between the parallel lines. That's why it's called interior. Alternate exterior angle. Two angles that lies outside of parallel line on opposite side of the transversal. So it has to be outside in here and here, but has to be opposite of what? Transversal. So if you look at it, this one and this one. And you cannot count these two because it lies on a similar, I mean like a linear pair, which is on the same line. You can have that, okay? So outside of parallel line on opposite side of the transversal. So either this one and this one, and number 2 angle and angle 7. These two pairs are alternate exterior angle. See, angle 2 congruent to angle 7. Angle 1 is congruent to 8. Again, you do that like, draw two parallel lines and then cut with the transversal and make a cut. Make a little piece and take that piece and try to fit in here. It will fit exactly on top of it. These are some pairs, but not congruent, but it adds up to 180 degree. You can say either supplementary angle or form a straight line, or straight angle, form a straight angle, okay? The first thing, same side or consecutive angles, which is consecutive angle mean it's continue with the one angle and the next one, okay? These two are consecutive angle, okay? So consecutive interior angle, two angles that lies between parallel lines. So two angles, either these two or these two, it's altogether 4, all right? Two angles that lies between parallel lines on the same side of the transversal. So these two angles, because it has to be same side. So if you add these two, it's called consecutive interior angle, which form 180 degrees. The best way to prove that, or like to understand it, do the transversal line, cut it. Cut these two angles. I mean, do the parallel line and cut with the transversal. Take these two angles, cut that piece and join it. It will form a straight line. All right. There's another way to prove it, because we know these are corresponding angles and these two are vertical angle. And when you add these two, so you can say 3 and 2 and 5 and 1 are same. So instead of 3 and 2, we can substitute with, 3 and 5, we can substitute with 1 and 2. And those 1 and 2, it's forming a straight angle, which is straight line. So therefore, these two are straight line too, these two angles together. Same thing with 4 and 6. Angle 4 and 6, it's formed 180 degrees. Same way, you can cut it and put right next to each other, it will form 180 degrees. Or you can say angle 1 and 4 are same, so instead of 4, I'm going to put 1, angle 1. 6 and 2 are corresponding angles, so those two are same, so instead of 6, I'm going to put 2 in there. So when you take these two and it will form a straight angle, that means it's 4 and 6 also 180 degree or straight angle. Consecutive exterior angle also form 180 degrees. Those two angles on the same side of a transversal and outside of the parallel lines. So these two lines, for example. Also same thing, this two, 2 and 8, okay? And these angles are supplementary or equal to 180. Those two angles form a straight line or supplementary angle. See, same thing, you cut these two things and put right next to each other. It will form a straight line. There's another way to prove. You have angle 1 and angle 2 and angle 7 are congruent. What is the reason? If you go back a little bit, you will see those called alternate exterior angle. It falls on the opposite side, but outside of the transversal or parallel line. You know, it's opposite of transversal and outside of parallel line. Those are called alternate exterior angles. So instead of 2, you can supplement with 7. So that also form straight angle. Intersecting lines. In real life, if you look into it, you know, this is how you can look at it. If you have a bike, you know, those bars, you know, intersecting in one point. Many places you can see it. And if you see a towers, sometimes they intersect. Like if you go big, like if pictures that previously I saw, like a lot of things like intersect. Branches intersects. So there's many intersection point on like in real life that you can see it. The street intersects. That's why they call intersections. So in geometry, you can see that intersects over here, in this point, in here. Those are the intersect. And also we learned last time, if two lines can intersect in one point. All right. Perpendicular lines. What is perpendicular lines? Two lines going to intersect, but perpendicular lines has a special thing. When two lines intersect, they will form 90-degree angle. If they intersect in 90-degree angles, those lines called perpendicular lines. So this is a special thing. If two lines intersect and form a 90-degree angle, then it's perpendicular line. If this is 90, what is this? This is also 90. Why? Because straight line has 180 degrees. So if 90 takes away, what is left? Which is 90. And we already learned vertical angle. These two are 90. This angle is also 90. Same thing. If this is 90, this one should be 90 because this is a straight line. All right. Can you find perpendicular lines over here? I believe you could. If you see these two lines, and this is a perpendicular line. If you look at it in the edge, one line and cutting. This is perpendicular. Same thing with this. When you have a table, it doesn't, in here, it's a 3D picture, so that's why it looks like a little angle. But if you look at the table, the joints always 90 degrees. In here, in the chair too, but it's a little curvy, but some chairs are straight. So that sometimes, some chairs like little lenient, so that cannot be, some of them has a straight angle, which is, not straight angle, a 90-degree angle. Some of them don't, all right? In here, the bookshelf, how they divide it, these are 90 degrees. If you look at it, this is two lines intersecting in this point. Same thing in here. How about in here, in this windows, 90 degrees, those are perpendicular. Perpendicular lines are also intersecting lines because they cross each other. Perpendicular lines are a special kind of intersecting lines because they always form perfect right angle or right angle. If you say 90 degrees, it's fine. Or right angle, it's fine. Right angle means 90-degree angle, okay? Straight angle means 180 degrees or straight line. So name of song, I mean, name each figure like, and we went through it, it's point, line, you have to have arrow on both sides. Ray has one arrow on one side and there's a point or end point on one side. Line segment between 2 points. Perpendicular, we just learned. Intersecting. Oops. And parallel line, we just learned about it. I think now you have the basic part of geometry. We're going to start to jump in triangles and all those stuff. If you know all these 3 videos thoroughly, the next will be way easier. If you have any questions on this or any doubt or anything that you don't get it, please come to my office hours. Give me a text. My phone number is 401-408-3392. Come to my office hours or text me to make an appointment or set up an appointment online. You know how to get there. Go to the student Padlet and they will be there to make office hours. Or give me a phone call or email. All right, guys? I hope you understand it. If not, please feel free to contact me. And I'll catch you in next video. Thank you.